is going on, guys? It's Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and today's show is going to be packed. We're going to talk about, of course, La Palma, the possible, of course, tsunami, the people that are saying that it's not possible, everything about that. Then, of course, we're going to talk about satellites, how they are saying that boats with extremely high-powered lasers could knock our spy satellites out of the sky. I think that means they could also knock our regular satellites out. Again, we'll talk about all of that and everything that has happened over the weekend right now. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. If you've never been here before, we're going to go over a whole lot in a short amount of time. So just remember, you can follow along on our website. You can go to marfooglenews.com, and, of course, you can find today's show. It's very easy to navigate if you match up today's thumbnail, which is La Palma is a mega tsunami still possible. When you click on that, you will see that we have backed up every single article, tweet, video, document that we show you here is going to be available on the website. When you go here, you'll actually see that we have a bibliography of all of our sources, and then, of course, at the very bottom, there is web-only content. That is basically stuff that is too hot for TV, stuff that people's doors are being knocked down for saying. Any of that kind of stuff would be down there at the very bottom. Now, over on the right side, if you do want to support us in any way, or you saw a product that you wanted to get through one of our affiliates, then, of course, go over to the right side. You can see NordVPN, EMP Shield, and My Patriot Supply, which is, of course, doing its sale right now, $50 off on a month supply, and, of course, $200 off on a 3-month supply. All right, again, we are independent. We are truly independent. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar company. We have you. So thank you. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on?
Why, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam.
So,
good to hear you.
So a lot's going on. We're gonna show you about La Palma here in just a minute. We're of course going to talk about China some more, because there is even more coming out right now, and I believe that most people should be seeing what's going on right now around the world. If you are not, I highly recommend you go to that web-only content. All over the world, there are people fighting against the people above them. So definitely go check that out. Lots of crazy stuff right now. First off, though, surging fertilizer costs risk making food even pricier next year. It says that, of course, most people do not give fertilizer a second thought, except for maybe when driving through a particularly fragrant agricultural area. But with prices for some synthetic nutrients at their highest levels since the financial crisis, it says it could mean weaker harvests and bigger grocery bills next year, just as the world's supply chains start to recover from the pandemic. It says a perfect storm of events, from extreme weather and plant shutdowns to new government sanctions, have hit the chemical fertilizer market this year, slamming farmers already buckling under the strain of rising costs to produce food. Prices for urea, a popular nitrogen-based fertilizer, skyrocketed earlier this month to the highest since 2012 in New Orleans. It says a U.S. major fertilizer trading hub. A common phosphate fertilizer known as DAP is the most expensive in that market since 2008, Bloomberg shows. One thing that I do want to say, and I was talking to one of my buddies about some of the kind of financial crisis that we are kind of looking at right now. I have been told for a long time to try to, get out of the U.S. dollar. Anything that is sank into that. There's a lot of stuff going down right now. But my friend put it into really simple terms as far as inflation and what's going on, and I'm definitely going to be sharing some more stuff with you from that as well, because I've been looking a lot into it. He gave me a lot of really good resources. He was a financial expert. He, of course, did profit and loss statements for a very large tech company. So again, he knows what he's talking about, and I do appreciate every opinion on my show. I appreciate all of your opinions. I appreciate learning new stuff. I'm a human being. I make mistakes, but I also find out stuff every single day, and there is so much. I don't think one person could contain all of what is going on right now. It is getting to the most serious point we've ever been in our lives, and I don't think anyone can really deny that unless they're truly putting their head in the sand. But it is getting absolutely scary, like terrifying. I just texted High Impact Flicks Brian, and I told him, I'm like, it's getting to the point where we're less, scared about a meteor and more scared about some of the things that are happening right now. Like it's really, really, it's really volatile. We're in a system that very obviously looks like it's about to collapse. I don't see how some people are not seeing it. So with this is basically a heads up. They're already saying that next year is going to be, even crazier prices, all this. I expect it to get far, far worse than just the fertilizer and foods and everything else. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or push fear. I hate when people say that, because I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of some of this other stuff. I'm more afraid of course, I'm more afraid of humans right now. So it says empty tequila bottles on future Air Force One prompts Boeing probe. So apparently it says Boeing is looking into how 2 empty mini tequila bottles ended up in a future Air Force One jet. The Wall Street Journal reported, citing people familiar with the matter. It says the bottles were found sometime in September in San Antonio on an Air Force One plane being developed by Boeing. Though it was unclear where exactly the bottles were found. The situation was deemed a personal matter by a spokesman for Boeing. The news outlet noted that Boeing has explained that it is trying to improve manufacturing and quality operations. So why does this even matter? Again, that's probably what goes through most people's head. This is Air Force One, one of the most important planes in the world, or the future Air Force One. It's going to be one of the most advanced planes. If there's people putting it together while drinking, they could make mistakes, they could screw up something, and they could honestly send something up with the most important person in the world, supposedly, allegedly, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, puppeteer. They could send them up and then something could happen. There's a lot of things around that. Of course, there's all sorts of weird ways that the president travels to be safe. There's certain, travel options that are closed for the president but open for the vice president because of like the worst case scenarios that they map out. So this is not good, but is it news to anybody that somebody who's working in a manufacturing warehouse, no matter how big, no matter how important, is drinking on the job right now? Like, not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying, I come from a family that all worked at Boeing. My mom was a riveter. My dad did engineering. My grandpa was an engineer. My grandma helped work on the stealth bomber as far as back in the day. And, I know my grandma was sauced the whole time, I'm sure. Everybody was back at Boeing back in the day. So I'm sure that there's some old school people there that still partake. That's all I'm going to say. I know things have changed a lot. Obviously, it's a much more respected company in the world. Now they are worldwide. But I mean, like, this isn't... They're everywhere. It doesn't matter how high up you go. There's people drinking on the job. There's people with problems. There's people with everything. I guess the main point, though, is, can they check that up? The one thing, too, is if somebody was drunk, did this, and buried it deep into the plane where they don't see it on an outward inspection, it goes up to fly a couple times in, and it's got the prez, and it goes down. That's part of this. Dex, if you have anything to say on that.
I don't know why they didn't say they were just test fitting the bottles in a new bottle holder or something.
Yeah, right.
They could have spun this 10 different ways to make this a clean operation.
Yeah, they could have said that it was for they were putting two wires together and using it as an accelerant, and it was an advanced thing that they learned from Harvard University's new study on wire connections for important people.
There's got to be a wet bar on that thing, right?
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's many bars on the Air Force One. That's the thing. It's not about the bottles being found there. It's the drunkenness, right? Ides of March, thank you for your support. Thank you for everybody that supports this show. Again, we are independent. We are not traditionally supported by the normal means that a YouTube channel would be. So thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate that. Ides of March, newer name. Thank you. Milley, Army Chief, displayed pattern of behavior defying authority, former senior military official said. Well, this is like a no crap scenario, because if you know what Milley said he did, he basically went behind the president's back, called China's leader in his same position, the general of China's military, and said, hey, if we do end up surprise attacking you, if we, put out a kind of Pearl Harbor type thing, I will give you a call first. I'll make sure that you have the proper defenses, and don't worry, man. If we were going to take you out or something, I would let you know, bro. We're besties. Which is considered in some cases, at the very least, like a mutinous kind of action, but some call it sedition, some call it, of course, treason, big one. And at the same time was talking to the person before everybody dropped their thing in that box that we all count towards the next leader, 4 days before the actual event. And then, of course, on the 8th, 2 days after this huge event that they said happened over there at the Cap. And on that very same day that he called a Chinese leader, he then went and called a secret meeting of all of his military colleagues. And he said, hey, if there's anything that's going to happen, if there's a nuke that's going to launch, whatever else, you need to go by this procedure. And this procedure includes me. There's no procedure that does not include me knowing. Sounds to me like, I wonder how, did he admit that this happened? By the way, Dex, didn't he admit this happened? It seems really strange that he would kind of admit to something like this.
Well, he admitted to the conversations with China, and he said that was a normal conversation.
But did those leak?
He said everything else he's going to withhold until he has his, questions from Congress when he has to testify. So this is yet another person. So all we had was a book written by a couple of, journalists, and some of which have been considered questionable.
Woodward
so that's
and
all we had to
Acosta.
go by. Yeah. So now what we've got is, another person coming out and saying, hey, I'll give you my side on what I saw. Right.
Yeah. This is, it's pretty giant as far as, this is huge. To call the enemy before we end up doing something, obviously it's very far in people's brains from us actually, say, invading China or attacking first strike. That kind of thing is very far off in our brains. But the fact is, it is on the table, and about half our government, including the half that is running the China task force, they are very serious about it. They have done games right now. They are drilling and preparing for a conflict with China. That's not a secret. I guess what could be argued is how serious is it, the threat from China, and how seriously do they believe that we are going to go on a conflict? China is heavily preparing for a conflict with the United States. At the same time, people are confused because they're like, well, we've heard all this stuff about the president being kind of in a pocket, whatever else. I don't think our entire government is in China's pocket. That's the thing. I think that we are having an internal struggle right now. To say that there is that there are no spies or no infiltrators from the Chinese government into our government, that would be a downright lie. Because guess what? We know that there are spies, and we know that we have spies over on their side. I'm sure that high up in their government, we have secret spies that were probably birthed for the sheer purpose of getting trained up and working for the Chinese government. Our government does do programs like that where they have families that, basically they train kids from the very beginning. There's all sorts of weird experiments that they've done, but especially the CIA. CIA's got some crazy stuff. So as far as this goes, I think it's kind of weird that it had I guess because it came out the way it did. That's one thing. If he had just openly admitted, I would think, oh, that's like super weird because, that's like, why would you admit something like that? Unless you knew that tape was going to come out and implicate you and get you into serious trouble. He's trying to go with the half of the country that says, oh, well, yeah, because that guy was loopy. He was nuts. Of course, he shouldn't have had power in the first place. It doesn't matter, though. Try to unattach the names that were in the positions and look at the laws. Look at laws. That's why I don't get it. People are willing to overlook laws if they hate somebody, or they're willing to push the laws on, depending on who it is. I mean, shoot, right now we're seeing it by the color of their skin. I mean, nothing is equal. They're saying that they're trying to have everybody be equal, but it's nothing. It is nothing but. I mean, it is everything but. I mean, look at the argument with the Emmys last night, all over Twitter. I won't even go into that, but if you look up, what is it? Hashtag no all Emmy. Hashtag Emmys are white or something. Yeah, I mean, how do people, when they say these comments and these nasty things, not realize that they're actually helping, they're helping racism continue? I don't get it. And then Iowa Farm Services firm. It says systems offline due to cybersecurity incident. Dex, do you want to pop in here? You're, of course, our tech expert here. What do you think happened here?
Well, yeah, so this is a company, and I guess it's a cooperative agreement that they manage the silos, right? And they buy the crops and they manage all the crop infrastructure that's coming through. And right as they're getting into their harvesting season, they've been taken offline. And they're trying to salvage as much as they can right now because they've got a cyber attack. But apparently they're offline, and we'll see what happens. But if you think about all of the cogs in the wheel, we talked about fertilizer. We've talked just about crops in general in the past. Well, we've talked about flooding. There's all these different things that are affecting it. Well, now here's another, linchpin that is in the middle of that chain, that supply chain of food. And we're seeing yet an attack on that, trying to block it.
Well, and when you combine this with, of course, they're already saying that food prices and everything are going to go up. How much is that going to be due to companies like this actually getting hacked? Are these specific and targeted attacks as far as to these farming companies? Because guess what? Who owns all the other farms, right? Who just purchased up all of those other farms? Just an idea, just a thought. Again, to give you the official story here, September 20th, Iowa-based farm services provider New Cooperative, Inc. said that on Monday, its systems were offline to contain a cybersecurity incident, just as the U.S. Farm Belt gears up for harvest. The cooperative operates grain storage elevators in the top U.S. corn-producing state, buys crops from farmers, sells fertilizer, and other chemicals needed to grow crops, and owns technology platforms for farmers that provide ergonomic advice on the way to maximize their harvest. It says, quote, "We have proactively taken our systems offline to contain the threat, and we can confirm it has been successfully contained." So I'm sure we'll see a whole lot more of this. As we've talked about before, we know from officials that have come out with this, with documentation, that a lot of companies have actually been hacked, but they don't even say anything. So this one we actually know about. There are so many companies right now that are basically supposedly going through ransomware attacks and things like this, and they're not telling the public. They're not. They are not putting it out publicly. And we only see the ones where they either don't pay or where, it ends up coming out on the other end, on the hacker's end. But a lot of these are actually going and they're paying. They are paying the fee. And who knows who's actually doing the hacking? Do you think it's really Russia? Do you think it's China? Do you think it's CIA? Who do you think it is? Thank you for already 4,000 in the house. Mary Picard says, I'm from Perth, Australia, and I really appreciate all the news. How can I get one of your products? If you go to Marfoogle News, if you do want to get anything from there, it's on the right side of marfooglenews.com on the main page of this show. And then Mary Picard, thank you again from Australia. Stephen McMahon says, years ago they had a putative plan to nuke the La Palma wave before it got to America. So we'll talk about La Palma here in a minute. Of course, like we're talking about something that has now, just today, started to have a heavy debate over. We're going to talk about that and why I think that they are trying to bring up old stuff and I think they're trying to bring the fear back down. But I will say I've talked to a couple people that have put into other terms. I hope that nothing goes wrong with that, but I'm going to explain some stuff that a lot of people I think don't know already. Mary Picard again, thank you for your support. And then Jason Rock, thank you for subscribing. Eric Bellamy, Steve Solano, DJ Soul, Craig D, thank you for subscribing, everybody. And then over on D Live, Michelle K, thank you, says, we lost our longest allies. Au revoir. Au revoir. I can't do French. Dex, can you? Au revoir.
Au revoir. Au revoir.
Au revoir. Au revoir. Can you say it one more time?
Au revoir.
Or can you use it in a sentence?
We lost our best allies. Au revoir. They're gone. Goodbye.
Okay. U. Country of origin? Okay. REVOIR. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. Renee377 says, thank you, Adam, Dex, and Mods. Panhandle Prepper, thank you, Adam, Dex, and Mods. We've been faithful followers for 3+ years. Pray, prep, and stand strong, fam. Thank you for your support. Panhandle Prepper, thank you so much. Being a creator, and thank you so much. I cannot say thank you enough for you guys and everything you guys do, I'm sure, as well. Lisa K23, good evening, Foogle fam. Lisa K, good evening. Oh, Firefighter, JFN57, Scooby-Doo Right, Bear Claws, Dixie Doe. And thank you, Dixie Doe, for participating in that little tweet out. I basically said, what gen... I put a post that showed all the generations, and apparently it started more arguments than happy times. Apparently they've changed the generations, like Gen X, Gen Z, Millennials, Xennials, Baby Boomers, Baby Bust. They've changed it several times over the last year. I just found out, somebody emailed me like 6 different lists. They're like, they've changed the years. So everybody that thought they were a baby boomer, now they're a baby buster or what. It's just absurd. It started an argument. I didn't think that something that simple like, hey, roll call, what gen are you? Yeah. People just, everything is an argument now. Let's see here. So much crazy. So before we talk about, NASA warns of incoming asteroids set to zip past Earth at 50,000 miles today. I do want to remind you right now, like I mentioned earlier, if you get a 1-month supply of the My Patriot supply through our link, you'll get $50 off. If you get a 3-month supply, you will get $200 off. Right now, basically they have everything. All of the essentials of life. All of these are really good, tasty meals. They last a very long time, and they can get you through a pinch. More so, I think that everyone that needed a place to go and get this stuff and wants a trustworthy company, then boom, it's right here. At the same time, when we send you to this company, they're basically saying thank you for sending you. They give us a small commission and they give you a discount. So they take a big chunk off of their stuff just to introduce themselves to you. That's how our ecosystem works on YouTube, especially when channels like myself don't get support from the traditional routes, like, views and all of that, and the advertisements are all like a sliding scale. Somebody could do the same video in the camera industry and get, $20 per 1,000 views, and then somebody else can get literally 30 cents per 1,000 views. It is very, very wild. So if you do want to help yourself prepare for the obvious crap that's going on around us, go to marfooglenews.com/prep. At the exact same time, you will be helping your favorite channel as well. They have all sorts of stuff, though. They have, of course, water filters, air filters. They have the Alexa Pure Pro, and they also have battery banks. Pretty much anything you would need to survive is on this website. Again, make sure to go check it out. And then, of course, power, generator, all sorts of stuff. All right, Dex, let's talk about this asteroid. Has it already passed, or is it due to do it tonight, or was this, I believe, when was this actually supposed to pass?
I think technically 1830 Eastern time, so that's already passed.
So
but it was
5?
also supposed to be, well, yeah, we're still here. So, but it was actually going to be like 1.8 million miles away, which, when you think about walking, that's pretty far. But when you think about, the distance of a lot of things up in space, that's not that far, although we've had a lot closer ones. So this is just, yet again, we're bringing the asteroid topic into the mainstream again. And we used to see this all the time. And now here, we took a little break, not us, but the media, but now we're starting to hear more pickups on these stories. And apparently this was one that was recently discovered, but was recently reported, like as in, oh, by the way, there's one passing us today. It wasn't like they told us a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
And we've noticed that it's like some of the ones even one mainstream article, I want to say it was the Times, talked about a huge one that passed by. And it essentially said that, they knew about it a few weeks ago, but they didn't put it out. What ended up happening is it ended up like swinging by, and I think this one either almost hit the Caribbean or went into the Caribbean. And there was, in that same week, there was another one who, that we didn't see until it was 3 hours past us. So if you do believe, I know that we have people of all different beliefs here, and some do not believe, in anything outside of this planet. Either way, it's like, what do you think that is in Caribbean? What is your opinion on what hits there? What ends up hitting? Another thing that just came out as far as asteroid news, they are saying, they are coming out, scientists, agriculturalists, archaeologists are coming out and saying that Sodom and Gomorrah might have been inspired on a real story. Dex, I forgot to add this to today's news, but it is very interesting. They are saying that it might have been based on a city in the Middle East that was completely devastated and deleted off the planet with a meteor strike. And the reason why they're saying this is basically they have 5 or 6 feet of compacted ash and even diamonds in the dirt. It is a real trip. This is in the Middle East, and they have all of this stuff, and they actually found diamonds compacted in this. So what they say is that would show a meteor hit, and it was so powerful. It was about the size of the Tunguska 1908 Russia meteor, but it hit where people were at that time. So wouldn't that be a trip? Are they coming out and kind of like verifying that maybe, God didn't like something, maybe the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, that they were there, this city was doing all this bad stuff, and then God sent a meteor down and just, crushed it, just annihilated it. And it's they said that the people turned to pillars of salt. I just wonder if they're trying to come up with reasoning behind that actually makes sense. Who knows? Maybe in the future we'll find out that there's some evidence that completely confirms the Bible, and they're setting up to explain all of it or something. Who knows? What do you think? Let me know your opinion. Did you see that story? And what do you think of that?
I got the article. I'll put it on our website. I put it in screener if you need it.
Oh, okay. I'll just pull it up real quick to show you. This is something that a lot of scientists teamed up on, and I'm not saying I agree with it, but almost. I mean, like that could be. What if they didn't have words to describe that at that point? And what if God directly sent a meteor to do to do that destruction? Or does the Bible say that it's specifically something else? That it just dematerializes, or that, could that be an option and still be religiously correct? I don't even think religiously is a word, but either way, this large space rock is set to close approach later this evening. It already passed. It was 160 feet to 360 feet wide. That was what passed. Here is what I was talking about, a real trip. They're bringing this up a lot more. They're getting us mentally, used to this kind of stuff. Now, if you can see the screen here, it says, Sodom and Gomorrah, evidence that a cosmic impact destroyed a biblical city in the Jordan Valley. And I'll just do a real brief. It says, in the Middle Bronze Age, about 3,600 years ago, or roughly 1650 BCE, the city of Tal-e-Hammam was ascendant, located on high ground in the southern Jordan Valley, northeast of the Dead Sea. The settlement in its time had become the largest continuously occupied Bronze Age city in the southern Levant. Having hosted early civilization for a few thousand years, at that time it was 10 times larger than Jerusalem and 5 times larger than Jericho. It says, quote, "It's an incredible culturally important area," said James Kennett, emeritus professor of earth science at UC Santa Barbara. "Much of where early cultural complexity of humans developed is in this general area. A favorite site for archaeologists and biblical scholars, the mound hosts evidence of culture all the way from the Chalcolithic or Copper Age, all compacted into layers as highly strategic settlement was built." So, just to show you, it said that there was highly unusual things there, and then all of a sudden, this research group at the time happened to have been building the case for an older cosmic airburst for 12,800 years ago that triggered major widespread burning, climate changes, and animal extinctions. The charred and melted materials at Tal Hamim looked familiar, and a group of researchers, including impact scientists Alan West and Kennett, joined Trinity Southwest University biblical scholar Philip J. Sylvia's research effort to determine what happened. And basically what they have published in the Journal of Nature Scientific is that they found salt and bone. Real trip. It says there's evidence of a large cosmic airburst. So it went up above, and it said close to this city called Tal Hamim Hammam, and it said a roughly 12 megaton airburst that occurred in 1908. It's equivalent to the one in Tunguska. It says the shock of the explosion in Tel Hammam was enough to level the city, flattening the palace, surrounding walls, and mud brick structures, according to the paper. The distribution of bones indicated extreme disarticulation and skeletal fragmentation in nearby humans. Not only that, there was animal bones that were scattered everywhere. It says, for Kennett, further proof of the airburst was found by conducting many different kinds of analysis on the soil and sediments up from the critical layer. Tiny iron and silica-rich sphericals turned up in their analysis, as did melted metals. So, is this saying that an asteroid hit, or is this actually proof that Sodom and Gomorrah not only existed 100%, I mean, of course it existed, but that it was destroyed in the fashion that the Bible says? Either way, it's quite a trip. Do you not agree that this is like, they've talked about finding the Ark, they've talked about finding all this other stuff. They just found another Dead Sea Scroll. This stuff is really, really cool. Either way, no matter what you think, it's got to be at least the tiniest bit interesting to almost anybody. And then, of course, a Chinese student in Canada had 2 followers on Twitter, but he still didn't escape Beijing's threats over online activity. By the way, I was one of those followers, and he had good nacho recipes, and then the kid just disappeared. Tell you what. It says, in China Unbound, a New World Disorder, Toronto Star reporter Joanna Chu examines China's growing influence around the world, including in Western countries, and its surveillance and human rights abuses that increasingly extend beyond its borders. What this goes and talks about is this guy, supposedly named Dan, it says, whose name I've changed to protect his identity, hails from one of China's picturesque, relatively laid-back southern western provinces. He stuttered English. I stuttered English. He studied English diligently and was elated when a top Canadian university accepted his application to study law. About a month before the start of September 2017, when Dan was still in China, the university issued his student credentials, and with them, he received access to a virtual private network. The tool allowed him, for the first time in his life, to scale, quote, the Great Firewall of China and access the uncensored internet. It says, curious, the 21-year-old thought he might check out some overseas social media sites, connect with future classmates, and read world news. That way, he wouldn't seem out of touch once he arrived. He would be joining a cohort of Chinese international students in Canada, totaling around 140,000 that year. After he took a few basic precautions, since he hadn't left China yet, he signed up for Twitter using a fake name and fake location, and even set his gender to female. So he was trying to do almost everything he could to not be identified by the Chinese government. It says, to his amazement, the platform was already full of Chinese language users. The whole network of bloggers, artists, independent journalists, and scholars were engaging in a level of dialogue on Chinese politics he had never seen. Once Dan arrived in Canada and began adjusting to a new city and a new university, he continued to browse Twitter in his dorm room. He was too nervous to actually join in any conversations. He retweeted only 3 posts. The news that Nobel laureate and Chinese democracy advocate Liu Xiaobo had died, a short satirical video about President Xi Jinping, and a chart on the levels of Chinese government corruption. With only 2 followers, he wasn't making a splash, but sharing those posts still gave him a thrill. His undergraduate studies did offer some opportunities to discuss international political systems, and a problem of lower-level government corruption wasn't a completely taboo topic. But virtually all Chinese people know that publicly supporting high-profile dissidents or satirizing top leaders is strictly forbidden. After months, life got busy. Dan didn't have time to go exploration of his social media. He never got involved in any political activities on campus either. And then it said that his father called him out of the blue, clearly disturbed, and said, "Son, did you say something about the Chinese government on the internet?" The Public Security Bureau called us twice. China's public security bureaus are police stations that also oversee some migration matters. They sometimes work with the United Front Work Department to monitor Chinese nationals living abroad, though the Ministry of State Security Secret Police typically handle higher profile cases. So this kid that was in college that basically retweeted a couple of things with a VPN, not using his real name, China was monitoring his every action. Dex,
and he did that in Canada.
In Canada.
Yeah. I mean, just the headline says it all. Like, literally, the guy has 2 followers, and still the Chinese, system found him and came after him.
Well, so
his family.
What this says, Dex, is that they are they probably have a deal with China, or they have some sort of deal, and they're looking into everybody's stuff. Doesn't matter what country they're in. If somebody goes over there, they are probably tracking that student. Even though this kid did not make a splash, they're watching every single person. And that also shows you that they most likely have tracked every single citizen that leaves their country, no matter where they are. They have algorithms. They have, of course, their monitoring systems that they have placed with those people. But even after they leave, who knows? Maybe they've done a backdoor deal with somebody like Canada with Trudeau, which they've done other deals that are very suspicious. And then, of course, we're able to possibly do a deal with their government to track their people and to look at what they're doing. Whatever the case was, I mean, that's freaky. The amount of trouble that he went to to go around and to not be associated and then still found, that shows you they are like into some, they are in everywhere. They are everywhere. Or maybe somebody saw that satirical tweet, and then some hacker from China, part of their 1 million man propaganda, team, said, let's check out who this actually is, and then hacked in and found out where he was going from and tracked it all the way back to him. Who knows? GBF 2515, thank you for subscribing. Salute. Welcome to the Foogle fam. Charity Sullivan. We've got Shark 591. Thank you for subscribing. Charity Sullivan, thank you so much for your support. Stephen McMahon says, goodbye, au revoir. Thank you. That actually helped. And then, again, thank you, everybody that has popped in over on DLive. I appreciate you. Panhandle Prepper, Angela 1609, Happy Camper 42, that Chowky Gal, Bear Claws, Snapper B, Dixie Doe. Again, thank you. Venus L, WJS, Jen, Toadman, everybody that's popping in with the lemons. I appreciate you. Lisa K23. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And then the Badger, thank you. It looks like Scooby-Doo Do-Right just gave him a subscription. That is very, very awesome. Thank you, guys. And then Rapture Girl Now just got a subscription from Nana Deborah. Thank you, Nana Deborah. I appreciate that. Thank you for giving out the Mafia badges there. All right. And then, let's see here. We've got pro-Kremlin party keeps large majority in Russian parliament. Russia's ruling party retained its supermajority in parliament, further cementing President Vlad's grip on power following a election that excluded most opposition politicians and were marred by multiple reports of violations. The vote was closely watched for signs that Putin's control might slip. However, slightly ahead of the 2024 presidential, it's not clear whether he will run again, choose a successor, or outline a different path. But he is expected to keep his hand on the tiller whatever he decides, and an obedient state Duma or parliament will be crucial to those plans. So, Dex, if you can pop in here for a second, about a year ago, we talked about how it was really, really strange. I think it was right before CV started, actually. It might have been 2 or 3 years ago now. In fact, I think it was at the very beginning of CV. Do you remember when Putin basically was looking for the previous month before that? At that time, we were looking at how Putin was setting up control for himself after he left presidency. And then what had ended up happening is something else happened, and he extended his stay, and then he also replaced everyone on his cabinet. Basically, like if we replaced our entire administration all in one day. Dex, am I right or am I wrong?
Oh yeah, he won the right to extend his rule all the way to 2036. I don't know if that means he has to continue to be reelected, but what he did was, they voted on it, and it was a landslide vote, and they made an amendment and constitutional to allow him to. I guess he can run 2 more times, but basically he has the ability to go all the way to 2036.
How do they even say that it's anything other than just him being the ruler? I mean, he could change it again to just rule for the rest of his life. Something is super fishy about that. Do you ever? I mean, Vlad has been the ruler since. I mean, how long has he been ruler now? Do we have a year that he started? Didn't he go in office, then leave, then come back or something? If anybody in the chat wants to help me out here, go ahead. It says results released Monday from nearly 99% of the country polling stations gave the ruling United Russia Party 49.8% of the vote for the 225 seats apportioned by parties, according to the Central Commission. Another 225 lawmakers are chosen directly by the voters, and the results showed United Russia candidates leading in 198 of those races. Again, they said that that the U.S. was interfering in their event there. Kind of a funny back and forth there. But if you do go back at the beginning of CV, he changed his entire government out. I knew something was up then. I don't think we'll ever truly know the entire truth, but something is happening. Okay, so on to some of the crazier stuff here. China adds powerful new ship to maritime patrol fleet. It says that China has added a new powerful ship to its fleet of maritime patrol vessels in the South China Sea. State media has reported that the 5,560-ton Hai Zhan Zun 03 was launched on Tuesday and became the largest ocean patrol ship under the Hainan Maritime Safety Administration, or MSA. It says the official Chinese news service reported, adding that it would help Hainan authorities to enforce jurisdiction independently. Hainan is an island province off of the south of the mainland and includes a municipality of the disputed Paracel Islands, from which it administers China's territorial claims in the South China Seas. It says Chinese official documents suggest that China regards Hainan's jurisdiction as covering around 2 million square kilometers of maritime area, though boundaries are not clearly demarcated and the jurisdiction is not recognized by the neighbors. Basically any of the neighbors. In fact, the Philippines, almost every country around is saying that is their land as well, or that's their territorial waters. They then built these South China Sea, the Spratly Islands. They actually dug dirt up from the ground, then started building on them, then started putting airfields, then put a forward operating base. They put, of course, anti-air weapons on there. They put tanks, and now they have a lot of their Navy sat there and actually basically poached like an eagle there, right? Or like a dragon, I guess. So then this comes along. Now they've changed rules. A couple weeks ago, they put in a law in place that says that every ship that goes in, no matter where it's from, has to go and check in with China and radio in and say they're there. Part of that, I think, is because they want to know every ship that's in the area for when they do take Taiwan, because they know that it will take us time to get there. China will, China will take Taiwan at some point. That's my opinion. And when they do, they know that it will take us days to get there. Experts say that they could take Taiwan as little as 15 minutes, or at least destroy a lot of their stuff in 15 minutes, and within a couple of days actually take the island if they do it right. I don't think it will all go as planned. I think that, the Taiwanese people will fight, but again, who knows? It says, according to the news report, the Zhaizun 03 will conduct maritime patrol and law enforcement, search and rescue, emergency coordination, command, and prevention of control of ship pollution in the South China Sea and surrounding waters. So that's what they say. Part of this is, I think, that they're going to be patrolling that area, that they want to make sure that nobody comes in. And also, Dex, do you think that they are there because they're kind of touting their... Do you think that they're just adding more boats to their Navy, or they're already the largest Navy?
Yeah, I think this is specifically about what you just said, which is patrolling that area, right? They want to control those waters. They want every boat to report to them who's coming and going. They want to have ownership of it. And the more of these ships they can put in that area, the easier it is for them to actually act like they're patrolling that area, and act like they're controlling those waters, and act like it's their territory, and everybody must comply.
Yeah, so it's a big ship. I don't think could you grab a picture of it and put it in screener so I can show what this thing looks like? I do believe that there's at least one side shot and one front side. It's a big ship. Either way, they are obviously, they're already the largest Navy, but now they're adding some of those bigger ships, because we had carriers down. Now they're on their third assault carrier. Actually, again, experts are now saying that they could have 6 or 7. We just don't know where they're building them. The third very public one is a very advanced one, and then they have amphibious carriers, which are similar, but not as big and made for a very specific purpose. One of those carriers ended up catching fire mysteriously in port about 3 months or 4 months before we mysteriously had an amphibious assault carrier catch fire for 5 days in port. both burned for days and days in port, and still people don't go, oh, they said, yeah, this TikToker lit it on fire because he didn't like the Navy. So maybe there was a Chinese TikToker that lit theirs on fire because he didn't like their Navy. And,
that picture's in.
Screener. All right, let's pop open this, and then we'll go to the next story. And we're going to be talking about La Palma. La Palma, everything about this, some really, really strange things. Actually, Dex, I can't really grab it. There's a tweet that is on my Twitter in the last 24 hours or 48 hours about the buoys and about all that stuff. We might want to add that as well. It was a retweet of Just in Time. So this is a very large ship. Big boy. So that is being added to their arsenal. All right. So we're going to be getting into U.S. and U.K. smooth tensions. France is calling it basically the sub deal a crisis. First, I do want to remind you, if you do want to protect yourself against an EMP, there's one way to do it. You can go to EMP Shield, of course, through marfooglenews.com/EMP. These are devices that these are the same devices, same company that is working with Department of Homeland Security, DOD, Department of Defense, and, of course, on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. If you're new here, there are videos that we've done specifically on why we believe that people need this protection. If you go to our website and just type in EMP, you can pop up some of those shows. Again, very important that you at least do your own research and know why we are recommending this. These can actually be wired into certain devices, including your car, your home, your generator, your solar system, basically anything that needs to run after an EMP that you want to, you need to get a device on it. It can also protect against solar flares, the natural kind. A Carrington level event will happen. We are actually overdue for. If you want to not be stuck somewhere in your car, or if you want your solar system to work after an EMP or a solar flare, or if you just want to, say, your motorcycle to ride down the road, I would highly recommend getting these. Again, they make a device for everything. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. The car model is by far the easiest, takes a few minutes to put in. Again, very, very easy on that car model. And then U.S. and U.K. attempt to smooth tensions as France calls submarine snub a crisis. It says the United States and the United Kingdom are looking to ease tensions with France after a deal with Australia that Paris describes as a stab in the back. It says U.S. President JB on Sunday requested a call with French President Emmanuel Macron. A spokesperson for the French presidency said Monday that the call will happen in the coming days and that Macron wishes to get some clarifications. Macron's like, sup? Let's clarify, bro. Although I don't think Macron is like that, but... Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Monday said he is very proud of his country's relationship with France and that our love for France is ineradicable. Ineradicable. I need lessons. Because I messed that up and everything else, people go, hey, you're illiterate. Hey, you're illiterate. Yeah, I know. Don't have to comment it. It's like, kick a guy while he's down. It comes after news last week that Australia was canceling a submarine deal with France and instead was buying new technology from the United States in cooperation with the UK. So it was kind of like, oh, we're going to stop buying your stuff and we're going to go with theirs. Pretty messed up. Zamaga11, thank you so much for subscribing. Again, Corey C., thank you for your support. I appreciate every bit of support that we get on this channel. Again, thank you for supporting independent media.
You know, they also recalled all of their ambassadors.
So okay, so can you
pulled them out.
Can you explain why or where this road can lead?
Well, obviously, it's in my opinion, it's more just jockeying and posturing between two allies. I don't think it'll go so far as to be, all of a sudden adversaries, but they're obviously extremely upset. And this is not just, oh, we're mad. This is like, no, we're really, really mad. And I think what it comes down to is money, right? It comes down to money and trust. As a partner or an ally, they would have expected to have been in the conversation or participated in the conversation, or at least had the courtesy of being told, hey, we're about to do this deal and we're going to undercut you and take away, this big deals that you had to build and sell submarines to, another ally. So yeah, they're kind of pissed. They're not they really are pissed. So we'll see where it goes with this conversation. But yeah, they pulled all their ambassadors. They have, as they call it, deep discontent. And yeah, it's kind of a big deal in their eyes.
Does France have their own kind of CIA type thing? Do we know? Does anybody in the chat know what that would be called if they do? Do they have their own specialist kind of CIA, FBI type thing, or do they have secret agents? Or is that Mr. Magoo? No, no. Mr. Bean? No, I don't think he's French. I was trying to think of who's their famous guy that is a badass. No. Either way, they already hated the U.S., or at least the people think that Americans are sloppy, right? That was the old stereotype that French people were rude to Americans because they thought we were just sloppy pigs or whatever. So this is probably not a great thing. Undercut them and kind of like, hey, we can do it cheaper, or we can do it better than those guys. So we'll see what happens. I think pulling out the ambassadors, that's kind of a big deal. It says in
other news, Subway sandwich shop is going to be opening up all across France.
Really?
No.
Oh,
it's a joke. It was a bad joke.
We recalled our ambassadors to try to understand and show these former partner countries our deep discontent. But also, once they are here, we will have the occasion to reevaluate our position in order to defend to the best extent our interests with both Australia and the United States, the minister added. So it says there is no date so far to send their two ambassadors back. So imagine there's two dudes. They're like, hey, man, Steve and Booba Baba Bob, hey, come back. We're kind of mad right now. Oh, I had a sweet hotel. I had sweet everything. I had room service. Sorry, Booba Blah Bob and Steve Avware, Sorry, guys. AP interview, UN chief warns China, U.S. to avoid new Cold War. It says the United Nations news coming out is warning of a potential new Cold War. The head of the United Nations implored China and the United States to repair the completely dysfunctional relationship before problems between the two large and deeply influential countries spill over into the rest of the planet. Dex, this is kind of huge. The UN itself, which is there to try to keep the peace, right? Or which one is which? UN is the one that will fight for peace?
Yeah, peacekeepers.
Well, I know, but so is NATO says that they'll fight for peace, and UN basically says that they'll do anything to avoid it, right?
Yeah, or to keep it.
So yeah, there is they have different mottos, but they work together, right?
Yeah, they do. NATO's is a smaller subset of countries that is North Atlantic, but yeah, and UN is everyone. And when the UN gets involved, it's kind of eye-opening, because not like that they're big and bad and, all that powerful, but on the flip side, they are kind of like, a lot of people have a lot of concern about it when you hear something from the UN and sticking their nose in our business, right? At least at the US side.
Yeah, I would think that's kind of a big deal. So it says UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke to the Associated Press this weekend ahead of the week's annual United Nations gathering of world leaders, convening blemished by CV, climate concerns and contentiousness across the planet. Guterres said that the world's two major economic powers should be cooperating on climate and negotiating more robustly on trade and technology, even given persisting political fissures about human rights, economics, online security, and sovereignty in the South China Sea. Unfortunately, today we only have confrontation, Guterres said Saturday in the AP interview. We need to reestablish a functional relationship between the two powers, he said, calling that essential to address the problems of the problems of climate change and many other global challenges that cannot be solved without constructive relations within the international community and mainly among superpowers. So, first of all, knowing some of the stuff that I know, and as far as, where our dollar is headed and everything else, there's got to be heads butting soon, or we're going to lose it. And I don't know, maybe we already lost it and it's all just going to shift and we're going to end up being controlled by somebody else. I don't know. But it seems like we've already lost something here. Something massive is there.
Yeah, and we should watch. Like, this is one of the first major things we've seen from the UN around this topic. We should watch to see if there's more. Because if there's more, then this is sort of the setup, so to speak, of creating a referee, so to speak, right, in this conflict. And by them creating this referee, then what role is this referee going to try to play with both countries? And obviously, maybe one country may be more apt to want to play with them, whereas the U.S. probably we wouldn't want to, or the common American probably wouldn't think that this makes a lot of sense. And, how far off would it be from seeing, UN on our soil trying to help us keep the peace, right? That's not what we want.
Yeah, no, we definitely do not. Besides China and everything that's going on there, Stephen McMahon just made an excellent comment. And I would love, since we do have multiple people like Mary Picard and others here from Australia, we have a ton of Australians watching, confirm what they just said. Because, man, that kind of sent a shiver down. It says, under the French deal, Aussies wouldn't get their nuclear subs for 14 years. Our leaders think Australia needs them now. Dex, think about that. If the U.S. can give them subs immediately, and if that French submarine deal was way down the road, wouldn't that show you that the sense of urgency is way higher?
Oh, yeah.
I would love to look into that. Stephen McMahon, if you have information that backs that up, Adam at Marfoogle News, and then, of course, try to send it to both Adam at MarfoogleNews.com and Dex at MarfoogleNews.com. Send it to both of us at the same time. And then, again, Charity Sullivan, Corey C., thank you so much. Stephen McMahon, Mary Picard, Ides of March, Stormhawk, thank you again for being one of the last ones out yesterday. Dust A Dust, Theta Mooned Me, Thankful Kind 797, Sherilyn Rose, Lola Cafe, Sunshine Quintana, Arizona Mountain Sky, Machina Opus, Podcast Fan, Joseph Newhouse, Delaware Sasquatch, Deneen, Jillian's Gems, Carafuse, Marfool's Gold. It's so nice to have you here for so long. Big shout out to BOD. I talked to her the other night. She is, I believe, still in the hospital. So needs lots and lots of prayers. of course, she's going to be coming out of the hospital at some point. So please pray that she comes out a fully functional human being with a miracle. And then Shan, just want to say hi, and it's really sad, just the whole situation. I cannot believe what is happening right now with, like, especially when our my wife's grandma was having just severe failure of everything, and her own husband of 65 years, I mean, they've been married nearly 100 years old, could not go and visit his wife because he didn't have a certain thing. You would think before you would do that for that exact scenario, that somebody would come in with a glass cube or something with, that looks like where, those boxes with like a sandblaster with the gloves so you can interact with things inside the box. You would think they would invent that before telling somebody who's been married to their wives or husbands for 65 years that's dying on a table that you can't go see them because you don't have this thing for the thing that's 99, you get my drift. Craziness. And then we, of course, have U.S. spy satellites could be targeted with giant high-powered lasers fired from boats in the middle of the ocean. So I actually told you guys about this 3 years ago. The only reason I knew is because one of my sisters was dating a gentleman who I've talked about before. He was working at Boeing. He was military. Now he has been inducted into the Space Force. He was one of the many Air Force pilots that got inducted into Space Force. So now he is technically Air Force and Space Force, or he's just one. They were working on these high-powered lasers, for a long time now. But we're talking about lasers that can carve your name into the moon, and it would be visible. Apparently, they could do all sorts of stuff with it. So I told you about this 3 years ago, and now it's actually looks like it's here, right? U.S. intelligence satellites could be targeted with giant, high-powered lasers fired from the sea. This is not good because, honestly, if anybody else has this, then we're talking about knocking out critical satellites to our communications in a few minutes, and from somewhere where we can't respond. We can't block. It's not like we have, Matumbo or something to put up a metal shield. We can't do it. Says leading military personnel believe that the new technology developed by foreign adversaries could potentially blind sensors and wipe out the country's spying capabilities. So we have the same thing. So that means if we have the actual lasers, that we probably have a way to at least, fight them. I would assume that there's probably going to be something coming out as far as what they have already planned to do about this. Is this actually why Starlink is going to be a grid? I just wonder if that has anything to do with it, why we need that grid, other than internet, of course. It says, speaking at the 36th Space Symposium in Colorado Springs, Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall suggested that space could become the new international battleground in the years to come. It says it's because satellites provide communications, navigation, and intelligence to any nation's war machine. So knocking them out would seriously disrupt and even render useless much of its equipment. Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall said in a keynote speech at the symposium, quote, "It is impossible to overstate the importance of space-based systems to national security." We talked about a lot of this before because Foogle family members were giving us heads up way before. And the freaky part about this too is as far as this goes, think about what Russia was doing with those inflatable tanks. Those inflatable tanks, they might, if we have satellites and up and things, think about how useful those would be if, say, the U.S. satellites got knocked down and then we only have drones doing, going ahead of us. And who knows, we maybe not even be able to do drones without satellites. So say we just have manual planes going in and scouting before people go in. Then we send a bunch of troops in to basically a trap with, a bunch of useless inflatables, while Russia forces or Chinese forces or whoever is going in where they need to be. It's kind of a trip. The fact that they can hit these satellites from a boat, or at least that's what they're saying, that's not a good thing. Because who knows if we'll be able to detect where hit it, and they could do it without actually accepting responsibility, or nobody would know where it came from. Who knows? They probably would be, maybe, if they had the information, but I don't think that's exactly how the satellites work, though.
And it doesn't sound like at this moment they're destructive. They're just blinding, right? So they're not high powered. It sounds like they don't even have to be very high powered, right? And a very high powered would require a huge power supply, like we've seen on some of the defense systems where they try to take a missile down or something with the lasers. That's a very big one. This sounds like it doesn't have to be that big because they're just blinding. And if they're doing that to blind a spy satellite, then they can just track and target it and put a low powered beam on it that, like we've talked about this with drones, right? Like you could take the laser pointer and put it at the camera of the drone, and it can sort of keep it from being able to get an image, right?
I think that I think that they have the high powered version. But so if they're just blinding with the boats, that means that they could figure out what is up in the sky. They could then wait a second. So then they could take a whole fleet. Somebody like China or Russia could take their entire fleet, move it right up to our coast, and nobody would see it coming because they're blinding a satellite.
And if it's not very powerful, in other words, it's just blinding, they can probably put a whole lot of these on a whole lot of ships. So if they needed to track or take down, or disable, so to speak, or blind 8 or 10 satellites at once, they could probably do it from a couple of locations with redundancy and make it very difficult for somebody to find it.
Well, it is. It's quite a scenario indeed. If you think about that, if they wanted to get people across, or a whole fleet of ships without letting them know, blind all the satellites above. Boxo Monkey, thank you for subscribing. Stephen McMahon, again, thank you. Zamaga, thank you. And then again, most of you have already heard by now. Some of you might be living under a volcanic rock for the last 24 hours. But the island La Palma, if you were in my show, a lot of people were talking about this for the last couple of weeks. Hal Turner and several other people, of course, Dutch Sense actually put out a warning about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago about La Palma, said that the seismic activity looked like it was going to erupt. And then all of a sudden, boom. A lot of people have given vindication to Dutch Sense because he called it. He specifically even put out a thing. So what the warning was, part of the warning that people were putting out in general, there is a debate about right now. So the volcano erupts on Spanish island of La Palma as rescuers scramble to evacuate 1,000 residents. Already 5,000 have been evacuated. I guess there's more. It says a volcano on the Spanish island of La Palma erupted Sunday after a week-long buildup of seismic activity, forcing authorities to scramble evacuations for 1,000 people as lava ran towards their home. The explosion took place in an area known as Cabeza de Vaca on the western slope of the volcanic ridge as it descends up to the coast. And it comes after the island registered up to 1,000 earthquakes in the past 5 days alone. Huge red plumes topped with black and white smoke shot out along the volcanic ridge, and scientists had been closely following due to the accumulation of molten lava below the surface. Mayor Sergio Rodriguez said that 300 people in immediate danger had been evacuated from their homes and sent to El Paso soccer field as one lava slid towards the village, while rescue services carried out evacuations for those with mobility issues hours before the eruption. Roads were closed due to the explosion, and authorities urged the curious not to approach the area. Lots of unbelievably Stunning photos of this event. Here's the thing. So there was people talking about how this could cause 200-foot waves. And I'll tell you why I think that it's almost like way overkill that people are trying to say that there's a debunk about that. So I'll explain kind of both things here. First of all, when you look at this, and I even was watching Dutch Sense too. Dutch Sense follows these things a lot. This is it. That's his whole focus on his channel. He spends every single day. He monitors it basically 24/7. He'll go live at 2 a.m. if one of these things happens. He has for years, much longer than I've been on YouTube. And he has seen all sorts of different eruptions. He follows all of them. He follows hotspots. He follows everything. He even said that, it actually is along the ridge, a very far ridge, as far as he could see. He says it's very strange compared to the normal kind of, one and done or one in this. One person commented, at the time that I found out about this, it was about 11 hours old, or 11 hours after it physically happened. I retweeted Jacob Israel's tweet about this because all these experts were saying that this could, if part of the island slides into the water, send a mile high or a 200-foot wave towards all of the East Coast, basically wipe out thousands of people, or however many, if there's no warning. I'll get to that here in a second. Buoys are down, or at least a lot of the very important buoys that would give us warning, they're down. So this as far as this erupted and everything that was going on here, a lot of people were talking about how this was happening and now all of a sudden it is erupting. Well, people put out this story in 2017, this debunk that said, oh, well, it's fear porn and this and that this is going to do. Oh, let me just rewind. Somebody said, hey, that's 12 hours old and it was a minor eruption. Kilauea was for weeks blowing its top, and then the first time wasn't even the main thing, and the second, third. But that's not even the best example. These things can last for 10 years. An eruption takes hundreds and hundreds of years to build up, and then once it does go, it's not a one and done. This isn't something that just happens in one day and it's like, oh, remember that day it did it and then it was done. Some of these can last 10 years. So an eruption, an active eruption over 10 years, just constantly blowing stuff out. Not saying that that's what this one is going to do, but this very well could be just the beginning. That's my point. Now, as it goes along that ridge, if for some reason it did have this astronomically high thing where, half of the ridge just all the way caved in, people are saying that that's been debunked. No. What the physical debunk says is that, and by the way, it was from 2017 before we actually see it erupting. They said that, most likely it will be little pieces falling into the sea, so it won't cause that much of big damage, or it will be this. They're also speculating. They're not disproving or anything. They're just saying they think that it will be little chunks, right? The debunk, I think the scientists behind the debunk are far less trustworthy than some of the scientists that I have actually heard say that this is a big possibility. Now, hopefully that doesn't happen, because if it does, the whole East Coast would be all sorts of down. But the one thing I also think about is how other countries have technology right now that could make this worse, or that could use this as a cover, go in there, set something off, and actually send something towards our East Coast. Say an adversary, the same kind of adversary that was talking about how they have nukes, underwater nukes that could send a 200 to 300 foot wave to our East Coast. Kind of sounds like the same thing La Palma would do. Weird part also is, so just astronomically high chance that this does happen. And again, the debunk is basically saying it's very unlikely. It doesn't, I don't think it even says that it can't happen. Say the whole ridge goes off into the water and it puts, 50 square miles into the water and it's sending a 200-foot wave. When you look at the actual buoys, I wonder, Dex, did you end up finding that tweet? Or
yeah, they're in there.
Okay, sweet.
It's Screener and on the website.
There was just some weird things, and the more I looked, I actually found even more. I was even thinking about just doing a separate video on it because I thought it was really freaking weird. At the time of this video, I don't, but as of last night or the night before, there was a lot of stuff that was down. And not all of these are tsunami buoys. When you look at the actual, status of these things, you think, oh, there's a ton of them. Not all of them are status. So this is actually not. I wonder if there's. If I'm here, I think I can find the other one. So this is where La Palma is, right? So right off of this it's a little island off here. And what they were saying is in between here, this is the East Coast, that some of these main ones were down. There were like 5 of the major buoys offline. No data. Why? Part of the reason might be the hurricanes that are down there, whatever else. But let me show you. I'm going to have to search through my Twitter here. Hold on. There's one right.
I got the link if you want it.
It's actually it's a tweet that was right around there. So I don't know if you might.
Yeah, I got it. The link's, if you want the direct link, it's in Screener.
The just-in-time one?
Yeah. I picked the wrong one. I thought you were talking about the one.
Oh, no, both are good. No, thank you, Dex. Okay, hold on. So I went down his list and I was actually looking and I was like, this is really weird. It says La Palma is erupting. U.S. sources offline at this time. September 13th. NASA 4-hour cut from CME video. Now I looked that up and it would be awesome if like somebody like Wages World could come on tomorrow and explain that. Was there a 4-hour video missing from the sun footage? Is that what this person is talking about? And then 17th to 18th, NASA K-level warning offline. September mystery through 19th, tsunami buoys offline. Hawaii MODIS heat sensing satellite offline. Why? So there were several other things. I was talking with one of my buddies, and we were going back and forth. And he goes, "Look at this. There's all sorts of tsunami buoys offline around the world right now. It's really weird. Also, can they be hacked? Can they be hacked to be turned off? Something that we don't really quite think about. But if you're talking about a tsunami buoy, I would not think that it's too, does this thing have a super firewall? And you have adversaries that actually say that they have nukes that can send a 300-foot wave towards your coast. You would think that you would put something up that would be like hack-proof. I guess these are questions that I would like to see if anybody has an answer for that. Can these buoys be hacked? Can they be destroyed manually? Of course. If you destroy those and a tsunami is coming towards the East Coast, what warning would we have? That would be a very quick way to take millions of people out. Other than that, if an asteroid hits out in the water that we don't see coming, and we have not seen many coming, that would also send a wave towards the water. Why don't we have more money in these tsunami buoys? The amount of money spent on these tsunami buoys is so minuscule compared to what we are throwing around right now. We're pretty... another thing that I was talking about with my buddy, I did not realize, this current time, Dex, do you realize that since CV started, we have printed more money than in all of history in just this time.
That's not surprising.
All of history. In the last 2 years, we've printed more money than in all of history.
Yeah, that's not surprising at all.
Where do you think that money comes from? It's based on a system. You're making that with the idea that it's then going to be somehow paid back with interest. Well, where's the interest? The interest doesn't exist because that money is being created out of nothing. That's like the definition of insanity. Insane. So whatever the hell is going on here, obviously there's trillions of dollars going here, billions of dollars going there. Why do we not have basic setups like this? Why are there even times where there's something like this that even if it's astronomical, which by the way, your odds of getting certain things are astronomical, or actually the odds of this sliding into the water, I think the odds were actually worse than you getting a certain thing, right? Or dying from it. So I thought, man, priorities. Sheila Amos, thank you for your support. Maddie's mama, stoked to catch you live, especially with that hat. But as always, thank you, Marf Dex Mods, and everyone else who makes this show happen. You guys rock. Hey, Maddie's mommy, let's get an M in the chat for Maddie's mommy. Thank you again. Preppermint, let's see. So thankful for the Foogle family. Jesus loves you all. Well, thank you, Preppermint. I love that, and I love your name. Awesome. And then Boxo Monkey, again, thank you for subscribing. All the new people that have joined us, again, lots of new subscribers. Thank you. Almost 5,400 watching over on YouTube and countless over on DLive. Thank you, everybody. Cynthia Lynn says, all eyes on the audits. For all involved, get to the truth, and all audits on all states. Love the Foogle fam. WWGWWJA. Cynthia Lynn, thank you so much. Again, Cynthia Lynn just dropped a Ninjet, the highest compliment you can bestow on somebody on DLive. Cynthia Lynn, thank you, and thank you. Thank you for supporting independent. Thank you for going and supporting over there as well. I really appreciate that. Again, thank you for supporting us. Can't say thank you enough. R15 says, my location is only 227 feet above sea level. I think, man, if this happened on the West Coast, I'm at 0 sea level. I would really be screwed. I'd be looking up to the sky at this wave. Jacktronics, we have Jumpmaster, Gem, Angela, 1609, J-Star Oregon. Thank you for everybody that stays over. J-Star Oregon just went nuts on the diamonds over there. Thank you guys. Thank you for supporting our little channel. You guys are awesome. Unumin. Only news I use, Marfoogle News. Unumin. That is the coolest that is the coolest acronym ever. So what do you think about that? Again, when you look at the actual debunk, it says that it was debunked in 2017. Have you noticed that debunks now aren't actually debunks, especially when it's around like fact checking and this and that? It's like there was that time where JB said something that was slightly off. Like he said his own name, and then Dex, do you remember that? He said his own name. We watched it over and over again, and it was like basically a fact checker said that he didn't say his own name, and everybody could hear it. Do you remember?
Was it when he said, "I'm Joe Biden's husband"? When he said, "I'm the husband," but he was trying to say his wife's name, is what they said, but he kept saying his name. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and they like went over, and it was the stupidest thing, and it was before the actual day where everybody put their things in, and it was like they fact checked it, but it's a matter of opinion. It's what people hear. It's like now that's what fact checking is. Now that's what debunking is. Or if everybody's worried about something, they'll just put something out. The thing is people have they'll say, "Oh, I have evidence of this." what it is now you can't trust any fact check. I don't think. It's like, who owns the fact checkers? Who owns this? Who owns that? Why are they saying that? Cheryl Beth Carter. Hey, Adam, with Alaska volcano blasting, maybe you need to get to high grounds in Colorado. And then April Sheldon, thank you so much for your support. Dex, can you check on Alaska volcano? I don't know if...
I'll look.
I don't know if... I don't know if maybe a mix-up there, but who knows? I wouldn't be surprised as far as, volcanoes going off. They can trigger other volcanoes. And then, not the same. Residents of Del Rio feel the impact of the migrant crisis. So, I'm not going to go too deep into this. What's crazy is drone footage from the border shows this insane scene of, I don't even know how many thousands and thousands of people underneath this bridge. Fox put their drone up and got these just unbelievable pictures. Right away, the FAA banned drones from looking at it. I want to tell a story that I tweeted out, but I don't think it communicates well. I was in Walmart 2 nights ago during all of this happening. And mind you, I'm all the way up in Washington. So I'm not thinking about too much stuff, You don't think about the migrant crisis here in Washington. Like, that's down there, right? Well, there were 8 gentlemen. I'm shopping, and all of a sudden, 8 gentlemen all look like they're following one guy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they are. And the one guy was a white guy, and he's telling them what to do, and he's speaking Spanish with them, and he's saying, hey, go over here. All of them go to the sports section. They all grab these folding cots. Now, I know from when I used to drive this big container dump truck. I used to drive the big trucks, right? And I would dump these dumpsters off and then pick them back up after construction sites would get. My boss owned this apartment building, and he rented it to all people. He never required any kind of background check or anything like that. He knew they were all construction workers. Most of them didn't have a status, so he would let them share. And I learned from that, they were all cool dudes or whatever, but I would walk by and I would see 7 or 8 of them in the same room, and they all had these cots. Well, last night or 2 nights ago, actually, I'm at Walmart, and I see all these guys following like single line, and the guy goes, okay, grab a cot, and they had enough cots for all of them. So they're all holding this like foldable, looks like a lawn chair, but it's one of these military cots. And then I'm just still sitting there, and they go over to get a pillow. So now they've all got a pillow. And then by the time I get in the front line in the self-checkout, because that's all there is now, all 8 of these guys are in line, and the guy's telling these guys, they've got a blanket, a pillow, and a cot. And he's telling them, he's like, this is the self-checkout. When you guys are given your money, this is where you'll go shop for things. This is one of the big stores here. He goes, you can get a lot of stuff. And he's saying it like slow, like to make him understand. Like the guy doesn't know that much Spanish. And I kept thinking about it. I'm like, when you get your own money, I'm just thinking, like, did these guys pay to come over, and they've got a guide or a group, and then, did they pay a flat fee? Then they're going to get some money back and a fake ID or fake this or fake that. It was just so funny. There was no other explanation. They weren't going camping. They weren't doing this. They weren't part of these guys were 40, 50. Some of them were, they were all varying ages. It was super obvious that they just got here. And I think the guy next to me was their coyote. Or something that they paid for. Maybe they paid a little extra to have somebody show them the ropes. I think that this is affecting everywhere right now, and anybody can go into any state's kind of Walmart or the places where the affordable stuff is at, because we're all struggling here. And you'll see during the days, it's just packed, and it's like, it's insane. This is affecting our entire country. For me up in Washington to see 8 in a row, that's pretty crazy. And they're obviously going around the system. The things that he was saying and the things that he's telling them, it's like, obviously, it's the first day in the United States. This wasn't a group that was straight from like going through the entire process. And they definitely weren't like, the Middle Eastern refugees or anything. The one thing that they could be is refugees, but at the same time, it just didn't look like I guess I don't know what the crowd would look like. It was I mean, if I can see that up in Washington, I can't imagine what Texas is like. There's people everywhere. They're down there. There's a lot of really horrible situations. I've heard from someone who is actually down there. They tried to take their drone. They did get a fine. They got a ticket. But they said that they have seen people that are basically perished on the side of the road that have been there for days and days and haven't eaten, and something happened to them on the way, and now they're just there, and people step over it. So whatever is going on down there, I think that it's pretty crappy. Dex, do you have anything about the humanitarian?
Well, yeah, this article, the person they're quoting here, basically described what was a quiet town as all of a sudden like, a conflict zone with armed, people coming in heavy droves and, military vehicles and stuff just flying in like crazy. So it's an interesting read. Go check it out. It's on our website, and it's kind of long, but it does tell an interesting story and a perspective from a person who lives there.
And again, they basically saying that all of this happened, virtually just overnight. All of a sudden, it's this crazy scenario. And then the PIF says that it's is safe and generates robust immune response in kids 5 to 11. I'm not going to go any further than this. I hope that people start to see, like, what are you doing? People need to dig and dig and dig. Most people are just accepting the top surface level, and then if they do have a doubt, they go, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of curious about this. Then they go to Google and they get the canned response on this. Or if they start believing what I believe may be truth, then all of a sudden they type it in and it gives the perfect logical shutdown to that without any proof. When what is actually happening, you need to look at the actual studies. You need to look at but wait, some of it there isn't. Why? I don't know. Like I said, it's becoming a very scary world. Speaking of scary, Navy SEALs huge amount of Navy SEALs are saying that they want to leave. They've lawyered up. They said basically there's 2,500 or something in the whole group. These are the most elite soldiers in the U.S. In the Navy. And a big chunk of them want to leave. That leaves us in a really crappy spot. These are specialists that go in when nobody else. They go in for the big boy stuff. Like, this is the stuff that changes worlds. They'll go in and take out a leader. They'll go. A 10-man team will go in and take out 200 people. These guys are savages. They are going to leave if they have to do what everybody else has to do. Not to mention around the world, people are speaking up, but again, I don't get this. I wish, what if there was a real reason, like they were like, hey, in 4 years, we're going to run out of I'm just hypothetically speaking, we're going to run out of air on the planet. Scientists discovered 2 years ago that there was some giant hole in the ozone or a meteor was coming or something. I just wish we knew the truth, because why?
Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
On the V topic, that Project V group did a drop today. It's part 1 of a multi-part series on this topic. People should go check out if you're interested.
I'll pull them up.
Yeah, just be cautious with it because of the topic. But the other thing is, and I'm sure it's going to be heavily looked at because of what they did. And then the other thing is, I grabbed the information on Alaska. It's in Screener.
So just go check out the highlighted black name right there. Go check them out. I don't know how so much is just like not people don't ask, I guess. It's insanity. Also high impact flicks, common sense, just absolute great guy. Okay. High impact flicks or Grease Monkey Videos is his second. Actually, more so go to Grease Monkey Videos and the Rumble channel he's got. Unbelievable stuff. Actually, believable. Very believable. And then Alaska volcano. What in the heck? Okay, so Dex, would you consider this breaking?
Yeah, so this is, it's recent. And this is the only major news article that's covering it because everybody's covering La Palma. And I wouldn't call this major news because it's Express. But I did verify on other sites that, track which volcanoes are erupting, that both of these, there's 2 volcanoes in the Aleutian Islands up there that are erupting.
What the hell? Man, if there was 2 huge, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe it's normal for multiple volcanoes to go off at the same time of a certain kind. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's because this is Express, right? So but this, Express comes out with stuff that's real.
Yeah. It's the only article where somebody wrote something about it. But if you go to the volcanic lists where they show which ones are erupting, you'll see that these 2 are actually erupting. And they're not just in orange, they're in red.
Why would this not be like oh, you know why? This is I hate this stuff. I bet you because it's brand new. Why would La Palma and this one on the opposite? I mean, I guess I know. One can trigger the other. Well, we'll get more information on this. I might put out a separate video on it if it is something that is pretty crazy. Because if this is very fresh, then we'll check that out. So thank you to Cheryl Beth Carter. Thank you so much for letting us know about that. This is how the Foogle fam ends up helping us. You guys get us a lot of stories right away. That we're only 2 people. We can't be all in one place. The mods help a lot. They'll send us articles as they come out. By the way, mods down there, make sure to write mod in the chat. They're doing an amazing job. We're going to have them come up for a panel. We're going to figure out how we can get everybody. If we can't get everybody on in one day, we'll try to do multiple. I wanted to have the mods come on. I've known them all for basically the entire time on YouTube. They have stuck with us for the majority of the time. Again, and they are very smart people. I don't pick mods just because of, if they're here. That's one thing. But also I pick mods based on, not causing problems, being able to look at both sides of the story and forgiveness and all sorts of stuff. So Stephen McMahon, with 2 volcanoes going off in Northern Hemisphere at the same time, we won't have a summer next year. It was like that with Mount St. Helens. Ooh, that's a creepy thought. My mom, Mount St. Helens went off, and I wasn't born yet, but my sister said it was pretty crazy. All of Yakima was covered. foot of ash or whatever. It was nightmarish, she said. So hopefully we don't see so much eruption that we actually, have it go around the world. All right, Dex. Thank you for the breaking news. Do you want to go over some of the web only?
Absolutely. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, and scroll down to web only content. One of the first things you're going to see there is kind of I hope nobody got hurt in it, but it's kind of a humorous type video about the T-Band testing out some of the gear we left behind, allegedly, and what kind of fail they had with that. Hopefully, again, nobody got hurt in that, but it's kind of humorous when you watch that video. There's plenty of other things going on, especially in the Milley conversation and the Speaker of the House. And then we also have stuff there on the Emmys and other things that we can't cover. So everything that we can't cover in the show, or it's too hot for TV, it kind of goes into this. It's an entire show in and of itself. It's called web only content. Head over to marfooglenews.com and click on the thumbnail and scroll down till you see that title.
We should almost highlight the web only content part so it sticks out more or something. Make it like a big blue or something. So thank you, Dex. Thank you for your service tonight. Brian Keith Prepper, thank you. Everybody that ended up supporting tonight, I appreciate all of you. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow with calls. 224-400 Marf. If you want to call in tomorrow and get your opinion heard on any of this, call in. Very crazy videos over there. Dex, love you.
Much love, brother. Great show.
All right. And then one more thing. Let's see here. What was I going to do? It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. It's where we say thank you to the people that matter most, you, in a silly, silly way. Have a good night. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. Thank you to the multiple people that just popped over to PayPal. I appreciate you. We'll get your stuff read on the next show. Again, thank you. Didn't have time for that today, so thank you. When you guys support us through that, it is much appreciated. So thank you so much. Prepper on the low, then you on the monster. Everybody hold.
back now, saying on the courts on the law. Jerry on the Petros, we on the best shore. I'm gonna test store, I'm gonna test your. Everyone knows in the island, going right back in your summer in. The Susie and the rest of the crew. Reading the gospel, I'm real high, no, I wouldn't be sitting in a hospital. Thank you to everybody that supported tonight's show. Top leaders over on D-Live, though, thank you over and over. Cynthia Lynn, thank you.